The protagonist of our movie is a 17-year-old teenager named Jeff, who is in his final year of high school. Even after he gets off the bus and arrives at home to find his mother occupied with the interior designer who is repairing their home, Jeff goes out, and on the way he meets two of his friends who are in the same situation and living near a mall. They inquire as to what is going on within him. They are often taken aback when a barbarian claims to be inside or dead. Because my father uses chemicals in his business, they will be taking him for analysis at his lab, so the boys decide to accompany him so they can see for themselves. The cat's carcasses are caught there. They downloaded a lot of the solution, and they are aware that it takes a month for the solution to break down since it is so weak. He therefore mocks the phrases, leading them to believe that he is laughing at them and that the cure is simply water. He chooses to demonstrate to them how he backs up his claims. They become upset when he reveals them. Very Bizzabo moves swiftly, and the bacon pocket functions in this way. I'm happy to do so. After the school day, Jeff returns from class and meets Bob, a lab thief from the school, in the lab. Bob has the same character as Gifu, who is harassed and abused. He is really eager to study Mito, who is little and decaying in a jar, and spend a lot of time in the lab. He asks his younger brother about him, and he knows where to find him when his father returns from work and they can't locate him at home. They understand that he must emerge from the cocoon in which he has lived and live his life like any other person his age because he is a zealot who throws everything he cares about in the factory in front of his eyes. The proprietors of several businesses do everything in one day, then lock the factory door and leave to forcibly remove themselves from everything. Jeff returns to school, and one day on his way home, he notices the same person who was running and chooses to concentrate on him as he did the first time. On the ground, Bella is determined and makes a decision that he keeps and investigates. When he gets home, he goes to him and apologizes for what he did to me, and they realize that he is afraid for them and does not want to live. The ladies will be thrilled when he presents them with iron weights to play with and use to strengthen his body. He likes to spend every waking hour locked up in the workshop. Jeff pays Jeff's attention. He stole it from him to appease him, but on the inside, he is unable to escape his passion. As a result, he begins occasionally venturing into the forest to find animals that he can puzzle over and explore. One day, however, he is at school when the teacher asks him a question. He is stumped, so he responds in a silly manner and makes odd noises that cause the entire class to laugh at him. Question. At lunchtime, Jeff is surprised when 3 of his classmates call him to sit with them. They mean it because this is the first time it has happened, but he is happy, and he goes to them and gets to know them. They say John, and he makes you laugh a lot, and they want to be friends, so he smiles at them. He also had a seizure but managed to get their attention, make them laugh, and make them talk about him. When Jeff returns home, Abu Glenn is shocked that she is not acting normally and examines her baggage for drugs. He is as shocked to learn that she has stopped abusing these medications for a very long time and that she has returned to her rightful place. She goes to a doctor right away to get help, and he goes outside and apologizes to his friends before telling them that he can leave and walk anywhere because his mother is dozing off and tired, and he does not want to wake her up. Instead, he advises them to visit the girl who served as their graduation queen. The school and the girl who lives with Jeff are both on the same street. She communicates with him virtually, recognizes him as a reporter from the school newspaper who wants to write a story on it, and feels a connection with him. The door is shut in his face, his name is false, and his buddies are making fun of him. The following day, Jeff joins them for a fishing trip. When he catches a fish, he grabs a knife and demonstrates it aggressively, stunning his companions. Everyone is appalled at the moment, but they do not think that Jeff should be worried about this since he explains it by claiming that he wanted to know what was inside. Ignoring Jeff and his brother even more. Because of their constant busyness with him, Jeff turns to drinking. When he notices his father drinking, he snatches the bottle from him and leaves the house. Aside from that, he attracted strange characters like Alfar, a student in their class who is notorious for failing, abusing drugs, and selling them to other students. One day, as he stood talking to Jeff's friends while carrying a knife in his bag, Alfar cut himself and started touching his blood. Except for Jeff Ellie, who likes to stand concentrated next to him and is drawn to what he does, and Mabikanch, who wants to walk until Peggy John and Byact are in his hands, all of his buddies are now far away from him. He forewarned him and advised him to avoid him because he does not resemble them, but Jeff does not pay attention to what he says. Instead, he decides to take and gather the forest to assist him in hunting the animals and returning to see them and their bones as he has done in the past. When they meet, Jeff is surprised when he shows him the gun he has and admits that he stole it from his father and asks him to take him hunting with it and kill the animals. The moment all of his friends notice the difference when he picks up dead animals from the streets and explains them, as well as when he starts drinking alcohol to the point that he becomes the school's soul, a drinker, a net, and a flaw. On a school trip to Washington, they all shared a room with Charlie, the only black student in his class. Jeff was in an awkward position to inquire as to whether Charlie's internal organs matched those of people with white skin, but Charlie was unsurprised by the inquiry and chose to ignore it because he was accustomed to racism and bullying because of his skin color. The next day, when Jeff runs into his pals, they either laugh or claim to have interviewed the vice president and published the results in the school newspaper. He chooses to comply with their request and makes a call after hearing their seriousness. The vice president's buddies will be extremely upbeat, and when he arrives at the White House, he welcomes them, speaks to them, and instructs them to work until they are adults. The White House can truly convince them of my soul in front of him. When Jeff's role declares that he wants to pursue a career in biology and, after the trip is over, Jeff returns home and speaks to his father, they reveal that he has decided to formally end his mission. As a result, Jeff falls into a depressed state and resumes drinking so recklessly that he begins to consume alcohol at school. When he returns, he knows he will sit in a hotel, his mother and brother will be taken, and he will go to Hanakubi. As a result, they don't fight because they each desire custody and don't have a brother. Why? And the purpose of this is to separate Jeff from them. There are only the two of them, and Jeff feels lost in life. On the second day of school, his pals concur that they are empty. They offer him money in exchange for going to the mall on vacation, and Jeff agrees and accepts the money from them, and when he goes, there will be a lot of drinkers, drunks, and peeps. He goes to the mall and performs naif and strange movements because he is afraid of people, and he is filmed for it. He is the only one who objects to this because he feels that Jeff Aragaz is the only one who has the responsibility of making them laugh. However, I'm very sorry. When he returns home, they see his mother. She learns that she has been legally separated from his father and leaves the house to walk, but Jeff doesn't say anything and walks away from her like he's not there. He then leaves the house and enters the forest while carrying a baseball bat. He then stands there with the bat while his friends laugh and take pictures of him. The fear of those who live in the same neighborhood is walking, and Bishop, by chance, is dead and explains that his intestines are all terrified, so they feel terrified and far from the forest. News and rumors spread in their school, and they know that Jeff is the one who did this. Jeff also overhears his three friends making fun of him because no girl has agreed to go with him to the graduation party. As a result of being insulted, Jeff decides to approach a girl by the name of Bridget and persuade her to accompany him, despite the fact that she fears him due to the odd things she does at school. Finally, she consents to his promises. You should go too. The day of the graduation party comes, and his friends are shocked to see him arrive at the party with a girl. Jeff starts dancing with her, but he feels extremely nervous because he does not know how to deal with girls. He either leaves him or goes to sit and eat in his car, and he does not end the party. The next day, when he gets home from school, he discovers his mother packing up everything to live with his grandma. And because today is his last day of school, he sobs and cries when he arrives at class wearing his graduation attire. They bring him to graduation and tell him they're proud of him, and at night Jeff walks down a forest road where they see his friend John, who attends the same school as him. John offers to join Jeff in the car as they travel home, but as they are walking, they notice there are numerous visible traces of blood on Jeff's hand and on the nails. They ask about it, and Jeff is afraid, so he has to save himself right away, and they tell him it's just a relapse. When Johnny visits a house where all the lights are turned off and no one is afraid, they decide to let the designer insist on it to some extent. They advise him to go back to his family's house for dinner because he is feeling uneasy, especially when he notices Jeep approaching him suspiciously. As a result, he rushes out of the house. He then gets the baseball bat without saying a word and starts to walk, just ready to murder John when, fortunately, he stumbles on his steps. He then walks fast into the automobile while holding marijuana in his palms. Then Jeff reveals his predicament and that he is not himself, he is battling odd brain thoughts. You pay for the entire time he kills a person, examines his body, and explains it to animals. After binge drinking, he falls asleep and wakes up the next morning to take the car to his father and let him wander around the house. By chance, Jeff notices someone being driven out of a party standing in the street, so he decides to return to pick them up in the car. Jeff recognizes the person's name as Steven and offers to take him on the way. and Jeffrey was detained after admitting the murder of 17 people.